Chris Jericho usually does all the interviewing himself, but he was the interviewee this week in his appearance on the Kurt Angle show with Kurt Angle, talking all about his career, all the different highlights, the ups, the downs, the full interview spectrum that you always get from Kurt Angle with his little pre-prepared questions that have been asked a million times in every other interview, but you give Kurt Angle a pass because he's Kurt Angle. When did his podcast switch formats, by the way, from the standard Conrad Thompson, what happened when style of podcast to Kurt Angle interviewing people with the worst, shitty, generic questions? But it was this question towards the end that piqued my interest when Kurt Angle asked Jericho what were his thoughts when Cody Rhodes left AEW. And the answer was very Jericho. Check out this clip.
Cody Rhodes leaving AEW. What was your reaction to it?
I was surprised at first, but once again, I go back to Pat. When Vince Russo left WWE and just a month or two after I got there, and this is when everyone thought that Vince was kind of the head writer, and it was a real shakeup. It was very surprising. Russo's on Nitro. What? He's on Nitro. Oh no, what's going on? And Pat said, I've seen him come and I've seen him go. As long as Vince is here and the guys that are here, he goes, it doesn't matter. And Cody was a pillar of our company when we started. And a lot of people thought that he was the boss. He wasn't the boss. Tony's the boss. He's always been the boss. I think maybe the company changed a little bit for Cody over the last few years, but I was surprised. I really was. But it's business. Yeah. It happens. I'd be surprised if he doesn't show up in WWE, and he hasn't yet, but it would seem to me that he's worth a lot to Vince because he's the first one to go there. Right. So it was a little bit of a shock for, a couple hours, and then you realize it's just business. And if he feels that's the right way to go, then God bless him. I thank him for all the work he did in AEW. My first great program in AEW was with Cody Rhodes, and he'll always have his DNA and fingerprints in the early years of AEW.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like Jericho really liked Cody all that much even. He's not going to miss him at all. Jericho has not been shy. In fact, he's been maybe the most outspoken about Cody Rhodes at this point. He did that promo on Dynamite where he mentioned old what's-his-name. And that was a shot at Cody just kind of ignoring his existence the second that he's gone, right? That's a diss in itself. And then just here on this podcast with Kurt, just like, oh, people thought he was the boss. He wasn't the boss. Like, you could tell that there's some saltiness there. I think Cody was maybe not as well liked as people might have thought he was initially. I think when we started to hear those rumors that he was kind of separating from the other EVPs, that it was probably the rest of the locker room as well at that point. Cody had his people, his guys, his clique, but for the most part, I think he was kind of, he was ostrifying himself. That's a word, right? Does that mean he was being an ostrich? I don't fucking know. He was making a dick of himself backstage. How about that? But Jericho's never shy to give his 2 cents on somebody, especially if he's looking to take he takes his shots at WWE all the time. Jericho likes that. That's fun for him. He likes to get his little digs in and just poke the bear. Jericho loves a little pinch of controversy. He loves a little pinch of a fight. He's not one to sugarcoat his words very often if he feels a certain kind of way. He can be really nice, but Jericho can also be kind of a huge dick. And kind of sounds like he was being a bit of a dick to Cody now that Cody's gone. Which, by the way, news is getting around that Cody did, in fact, sign his contract with WWE. He has not shown up on WWE TV yet, so I don't know that he will, or maybe he'll just debut as a surprise at WrestleMania. but it's looking like he's going to work with Cody Rhodes, or Cody versus Cody. Cody's going to work with Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. I don't know how they're going to get there or what's going to happen of it. I hope if I don't know if Cody's going to be a babyface. If he's a babyface, debut by himself. If he's going to be a heel, he needs to bring Brandy along. As far as I'm aware, Brandy is not getting a WWE contract. She needs one. She should get one. She's fucking great, but only as a heel. But yeah, go seek out that interview with Kurt Angle Jericho did. They talked a lot of just, like I said, just kind of walking through Jericho's career, right? You debuted with The Rock, and you weren't liked as much, and gets into his little tiffs with Triple H, and just kind of walks through his whole WWF career, and then into transitioning over to AEW and New Japan and that kind of stuff. So good interview if you need to brush up on your Chris Jericho lore. But it was particularly interesting for just the current event stuff, and especially the Cody Rhodes. So, yeah, that's all we got to say about that. Hey, thanks for checking out that clip. Don't forget to check out other clips here on the channel. And while you're there, throw a like, throw a subscribe. And don't forget to check out full episodes each and every Sunday of the Pro Wrestling Podcast.